So a lot of people have been asking since Wuthering Waves first came out, what the future of the game's going to look like. As Kuro Games haven't worked on too many games, obviously they worked on Punishing Grey Raven in the past, but apart from that, that's probably like their only other big game. So people were very interested in what kind of direction Wuthering Waves was going to go in. Well, literally a couple of hours ago, there was a new article put out by Epic Games where they pretty much interview some of the devs of Wuthering Waves, which says that Kuro Games looks back at launch and ahead to the future. And obviously before I even press record, I've actually read some of this. It's a very promising article that does give us a lot of answers for Wuthering Waves and what the overall thinking of the devs are. So in this video, we're going to be going through this article and kind of explaining what the future of Wuthering Waves is going to look like and the future plans that the devs have for the game. But before I get to this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy it, and also go over to Gamersubs and use my code KAZA where you can get yourself 10% off a ton of cups and tubs. I definitely recommend that you guys go check it out. They have a ton of really cool stuff, but I'm sure something will catch your eye over there. So yeah, definitely go over there, use my code KAZA, and there you can get a discount. But let's get back into the video. So first off, I just wanted to say that Wuthering Waves is actually available on the Epic Games Store right now. I didn't actually know this, but apparently it's been like that since the game first came out, which is actually really amazing for, people trying to find the game. Obviously, Wuthering Waves just promoting on their own website isn't the most effective way of promoting their game. So it being on other stores as well is actually really useful and, can actually bring in a lot of new players. But they pretty much say that months after launch, Wuthering Waves is still chugging along as a high-grossing gacha game, rivaling the likes of Genshin Impact with its upward trajectory. That said, developer Kuro Games' first global launch was an uphill battle and required considerable work before it shipped. We recently caught up with Dong, senior producer at Kuro Games, to discuss the challenges the development team faced ahead of launch and its plans for the future of Wuthering Waves. So the first section in this is the struggles of the story. So they pretty much talk about how, Kuro Games shared a YouTube video on what it'd been doing for 6 months after the first Wuthering Waves closed beta test. At the time, Dong spoke with ACG content creators like Rexlent and Sandfish, who are obviously massive content creators in the space. Obviously, Rexlent has been making a lot of content on PGR, and now obviously Wuthering Waves it's actually out, so he's a very big Kuro Games content creator, about the changes that the team's made, revealing that they'd revamped 90% of the original story. So again, they're talking about the overall story changes that Wuthering Waves actually brought to the game. If you don't know, the story was much different in the first beta test, and a lot of people didn't like it. And he goes on to say that they actually focused too much on the apocalyptic kind of atmosphere. If you don't know, Wuthering Waves is set in an apocalyptic kind of atmosphere. And in the first story, they focused on that a little bit too much and less on the characters, which obviously isn't great for, a gacha game story. Obviously, a lot of people want to focus on the characters and the main character itself, the rover, rather than the overall environment and the apocalyptic atmosphere. Now, I don't think he actually says that the story was bad. I don't think he thinks that the story was bad at all. I don't think the story is bad at all. I just think that he thought this would be a better suited story for a gacha game of that type, and it would definitely be much more popular, which I think it is. I think it's a very safe story that's done very, very well, and I'm really excited to see what happens next in it. He goes on to say one of the challenges for us in improving the story was that we had to completely remake a large amount of supporting performances, including voice acting and animations, which again was a massive thing. A lot of people really didn't like some of the voice actors for some of the characters. They thought they were too boring or they were directed poorly. Not to say that the voice actors were actually bad. I think the voice actors were great picks. I think they're amazing, talented voice actors. But I think the overall direction and, what they kind of gave them to work with was bad, and that it had to be re-recorded, which again, they went on and fixed, and, the voice acting has been great ever since. If not, it's been, some of the best. And even he says that the revamp was worth it though, as they said, we are very pleased to see more positive feedback from players regarding the adjusted storyline. And he also hints to players by saying, look forward to a very grand world, which again is very interesting. It means that, Wuthering Waves are looking to expand their world, massively, adding new regions possibly in the future. Obviously, a lot of people think that's going to happen, and I definitely think that's going to happen. Obviously, Genshin Impact is an example of that happening in the past. We got Natlan coming out literally today as I'm recording. So yeah, regions are going to be a big part in Wuthering Waves, and hopefully, they can make it more diverse and stuff than maybe Genshin Impact have, and kind of incorporate different cultures into the overall game, which I think would look very great. And obviously, the developers, want a grand world as well. Then he goes on to speak about the actual, combat and systems of the game. And they said, before Wuthering Waves, Kuro Games developed Punishing Grey Raven, a similarly styled gacha RPG that debuted in China before moving to Japan, and then eventually to a global release. When asked about the choice to bring the action-orientated combat from Punishing Grey Raven to Wuthering Waves, Dong said it had more to do with the team's strengths than strategic marketing. We have no reason not to incorporate the successful experiences from Punishing Grey Raven into Wuthering Waves and bring players an exhilarating combat experience. A significant portion of Wuthering Waves' development team is composed of members of Punishing Grey Raven, so rather than saying we focus on action games with a lot of combos and high difficulty, it would be more accurate to say that we aim to leverage our strengths to bring the players a deep and enjoyable combat system. So again, it seems like they're using their strengths from Punishing Grey Raven in the past, Obviously, Punishing Grey Raven has some really great combat, and I think their issue was that they just didn't market it well enough compared to Wuthering Waves, which they did market a lot better. But Punishing Grey Raven was an amazing game overall, and it's great to see that they've actually included a lot of the, aspects and a lot of the combat into the game. And it seems like they're going to be doing that for the future as well, trying to incorporate the whole Punishing Grey Raven stuff into Wuthering Waves, because that's what their strengths are, and I think, yeah, they should really work to their strengths, and it's honestly working for them at the moment. And he goes on to say that we've put a considerable effort into optimization, such as performance of multi-part skeletal actions, the performance of the targeting selection algorithm, and the strategy for updating special effects. Recently, players have also noticed these optimizations, which make us very happy, which again is great. It means that they are trying to improve the overall quality of the game, which I've talked about in the past too. Obviously, with the addition of like the RTX stuff and also 120 FPS, it's really great to see that they're, putting a lot into the overall visual style of the game and also just the combat aspects of it. And then they talk about going global, which was a very interesting one for me, as I talk a lot about the advertising across the globe for Wuthering Waves, and yeah, it's very interesting to talk about. And they said, after Punishing Grey Raven, Kuro Games has had plenty of experiences creating action-packed games. Distributing them, not so much. Punishing Grey Raven was only available on mobile app stores and via a standalone PC download, not platforms like the Epic Games Store. With Wuthering Waves, Kuro Games aimed for a global launch, but that meant growing the team. So essentially, they grew their team at Kuro Games a ton more for Wuthering Waves, and they go on to say that it actually cost them quite a bit of money, and that it was a very big investment for the company, because they tried much harder to release it globally. As I said a minute ago, Punishing Grey Raven wasn't really, advertised globally that much. Obviously, they had a few advertisements, across the globe, but again, they didn't really do much, whereas Wuthering Waves, they actually did a lot more, and obviously they hired a lot of people to help with that, which again, shows how much of a global game that Wuthering Waves can be, and how much it is at the moment. And that's why so many people compare it to games like Genshin Impact 2, is because, both of these games are very global and focus on the global kind of marketing, scheme. And they go on to say that growing the global distribution team helped Kuro Games market Wuthering Waves around the world, and the localization team meant that they're able to translate for target markets. Now, the translation team wasn't the best in the localization, maybe that could be improved on. Obviously, they did mess up on a lot of the translations across, different countries, but again, it wasn't the end of the world. It was only a couple of mistakes. And pretty much the interviewer asks, in additional games that they make in the future, obviously maybe in like 2-3 years time, will they actually make this one global like Wuthering Waves? Was it a success that they're going to do it again? And the producer actually answers yes. There's no reason not to advertise their game globally anymore, and they've now got the workers and the experience to actually do that. So their next game, I think they're going to actually be releasing global too, and that's probably going to be a gacha game too. So it's going to be exciting to see what their next project is. But at the moment, they are focusing on Punishing Grey Raven and Wuthering Waves, and that they want to keep it that way. And then they talk about, not just a copy. This is talking about Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves. Obviously, they're talking about the similarities between the two, it being an open world gacha game. And then they talk about, how it's different. And the big thing that the Kuro Games producer actually talked about was the difference in, the echo stuff. Apparently, they are really working on the echo system and want to improve it in the future. And that's his main factor for differentiating the two, Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, is echoes. Now, echoes are kind of similar to relics, but I do think it has like a kind of unique feel, as the fact you got to go out and kind of collect them. So again, that's really great to see that they're looking to improve the ecosystem and keep it going, across the entire game and making it even better. Because again, I think it could do with a couple of changes, but honestly, I think it is a very great system overall, and I can't wait to see some of the newer echoes that come out of newer regions, and just like with different cultural kind of stuff as well, because they can make them look really amazing. Then they say Wuthering Waves also continues to improve based on player feedback, including its new 1.2 update, where players were offered a free 5-star, so they pretty much just flexed, hey, we got a free 5-star, by the way. And then they say that Kuro Games has historically highlighted its fanbase as one of its main motivations and inspirations to improve its games, which again is very good. Like, with the fanbase being the motivation for the company is the best thing. Obviously, with MiHoYo at the moment, they claim that the fanbase is, their kind of motivation, which it kind of does seem like it is with a lot of the character designs and stuff. But whenever it comes to rewards and kind of, releasing rewards, especially with like Genshin Impact, it doesn't seem that way at all. Whereas with Wuthering Waves and Kuro Games, it seems like they're definitely, catering to the fan base, and that they really want to keep the fan base happy, which again, they also, follow up in this article. And they pretty much end it by saying, thank you all very much to the fans who support the game. We're well aware of the attitude of the players is the ultimate measure of whether a game is excellent. So we've always been concerned and attentive to the feedback from the community. We will look forward to Wuthering Waves fans continuing to stay active in the community. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire article. Obviously, this is a very interesting article looking at the launch and, the future of Wuthering Waves. again, it looks really, really great. And I honestly am really happy that they are very like fan base, motivated, and they cater towards the fan base, which again, a lot of people might agree or disagree is a good thing. But as I was saying, the overall future of Wuthering Waves is looking amazing. Obviously, they've got a lot of plans in the future, it seems like, and they've got a lot of plans to keep Wuthering Waves going global. And, it's going to be great for the overall growth of the game long term. Yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think this interview definitely, eased a couple of your concerns with the game? Or do you think that, Wuthering Waves still has a lot of problems that still need to be addressed and fixed? But yeah, that's what I got for this video. If you did enjoy it, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And as I said, go over to Game and Subs with my code KAZO, where you can get yourself 10% off a ton of clubs and tubs. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.